You know, there was a time when a television show took a break between seasons, and people just waited. Maybe they talked about it at work on Monday mornings, wondered what might happen next. But we're living in a different world now, and when a show like Euphoria goes silent for 3 years, that silence gets filled with speculation, controversy, and a whole lot of drama that has nothing to do with what's actually on screen. So Euphoria is coming back this Sunday. If you're not familiar, this is an HBO drama that first aired back in 2019. It follows a group of high school students dealing with some pretty heavy subject matter: addiction, identity, relationships that go off the rails. The show became a cultural phenomenon almost immediately, particularly with younger viewers. The second season came out in 2022, and then nothing, until now. But here's the thing. In those 3 years between seasons 2 and 3, so much has happened around this show that some people are wondering if the show itself can even live up to the circus that's been happening behind the scenes. And I'm not talking about typical Hollywood gossip here. We're talking about creative battles, cast controversies, a time jump that's left fans confused, and a creator whose other projects have seriously damaged his reputation. Let's start with the most basic question. Why did it take so long? The last episode of Season 2 aired in February of 2022. That's over 3 years ago now. And in television terms, especially for a show that was riding high on popularity, that's an eternity. Part of it was the Hollywood strikes that shut down production across the industry in 2023. But that only accounts for some of the delay. The real holdup seems to have been creative disagreements about where the story should go. According to various reports, and you have to take these with a grain of salt because HBO doesn't exactly broadcast their internal meetings, there was significant back and forth between the network, the show's creator Sam Levinson, and the lead actress Zendaya about the direction of Season 3. The show had ended Season 2 with these characters still in high school, still teenagers. But now, we're jumping ahead 5 years. These are adults now, dealing with adult problems, and apparently figuring out how to make that jump took a lot longer than anyone anticipated. Francesca Orsi, who's the head of drama at HBO, gave an interview where she seemed to suggest this might be the final season. She said, and I'm quoting here, "We've talked about it. I don't think anything is over until it's over, but it's been discussed that this is the end." That's the kind of statement that makes you read between the lines. It sounds like maybe they're leaving the door open, but not exactly enthusiastically. Now, let's talk about Sam Levinson, because you can't discuss the concerns about this season without discussing him. He created Euphoria. He writes and directs most of the episodes. And for the first 2 seasons, he was largely seen as this visionary bringing something fresh and raw to television. But then came The Idol. If you managed to avoid The Idol when it aired last year, consider yourself fortunate. It was Levinson's other HBO project starring Lily Rose Depp and the musician The Weeknd. The show was supposed to be about the music industry and featured a young pop star getting involved with a cult leader. What it actually turned into was widely criticized as exploitative, gratuitous, and lacking any real substance beneath all the shock value. Critics absolutely tore it apart. The audience wasn't much kinder. HBO quietly canceled it after 1 season. That failure did real damage to Levinson's reputation, and it made people start looking at Euphoria differently. The show has always pushed boundaries with its content. It's dealt with drug addiction, sexual situations involving teenagers, violence, but when it worked, there seemed to be a purpose to it, a reason for showing these difficult things. After The Idol, people started wondering if Levinson was more interested in being provocative than in actually saying something meaningful. And there have been reports, unconfirmed but persistent, about him sidelining female writers and perspectives on his shows, which obviously doesn't help matters. So you've got this long delay, you've got questions about the creator, and then you've got the time jump itself. 5 years is a significant leap. The trailer that dropped recently shows us these characters in completely different places. Cassie and Nate are married, apparently. Jules is at art school. Maddie's working at a talent agency in Hollywood. Lexi's an assistant on a film set, and Rue, played by Zendaya, seems to be on the run, trying to pay off a debt to a dangerous person from her past. When fans first saw this trailer, the reaction was pretty split. A lot of people said it doesn't even look like the same show anymore. The visual style seems different, the tone seems different. One comment that got a lot of attention said it feels like either they missed a season, or this is just a completely new show. Someone else compared it to if Breaking Bad suddenly merged with Euphoria. That disconnect is real, and it's understandable. You wait 3 years, and what you get looks like it might be something entirely different from what you fell in love with. But here's where it gets interesting. After that initial reaction, HBO released a second trailer that seemed to win more people over. The colors looked more vibrant. The sinister undertone that made the first 2 seasons so compelling seemed to be back. People started saying, okay, even if this is different, maybe it's still going to be good on its own terms. Sometimes shows need to evolve, especially when they jump their characters forward in time like this. Then you've got the cast drama. And I want to be careful here because a lot of this is speculation and social media reading tea leaves, but it's become part of the story whether it's fair or not. Sydney Sweeney, who plays Cassie, has been dealing with her own separate controversies over the past year. There was a family gathering at her mother's birthday party where some people noticed what they considered to be politically charged imagery and symbolism. Sweeney caught a lot of backlash for that. She's also been very outspoken about certain topics in ways that have made some people uncomfortable. Recently, when HBO started releasing promotional materials for Season 3, people noticed that Sweeney was absent from a particular group photo that featured Zendaya, Hunter Schafer, and some of the other main cast members. Almost immediately, speculation started flying. Was she being frozen out? Was there tension between her and the rest of the cast? Were they trying to distance the show from her controversies? HBO pushed back on this pretty quickly, saying she simply wasn't available that day because she was filming something else. And that's probably the truth. Film and television schedules are complicated, and getting everyone in the same place at the same time is genuinely difficult. But the fact that people were so ready to believe there was drama tells you something about the state of things around this show. Everyone's looking for problems, waiting for the next controversy. Dominic Fike, who plays Elliot, had his own situation last year where his behavior raised some eyebrows among fans. When Season 3 was first announced, he wasn't initially mentioned in the cast list. His representatives later confirmed he'd be returning, but the whole thing was handled in this messy, unclear way that just added to the sense that nobody really had their act together behind the scenes. And then there's Nika King, who plays Rue's mother. She publicly said she hadn't heard anything about whether she'd be in Season 3. After she spoke up about it, suddenly she got a call and was added back in. She seemed happy about it, but it raises the question of how this show is being managed if they're not communicating with their own cast members. The music situation is another wrinkle. Labyrinth, the artist who created the show's iconic soundtrack, and, the music is really central to what makes Euphoria feel the way it feels, recently went on a bit of a rant on social media. He posted something along the lines of being done with the industry, explicitly saying some harsh things about his label and about Euphoria itself. He later clarified his feelings were more about how the music business operates, about how creative work gets turned into transactions, but the damage was done in terms of optics. What makes this particularly interesting is the timing. Labyrinth is performing at Coachella this weekend, and HBO has arranged for the Euphoria season premiere to screen at the festival right after one of the musical performances on Sunday night. So you've got this artist who's publicly expressed frustration with the show, performing at a festival where the show is about to premiere. Whether he shows up for that screening, whether he says anything on stage about it, that's going to tell us something. The festival screening itself is an interesting choice. Coachella is obviously a younger crowd, social media savvy, the exact demographic that made Euphoria huge in the first place. It's smart marketing, but it's also a bit of a pressure cooker. If the episode doesn't land with that audience, word is going to spread immediately, and not in a good way. Then there's the elephant in the room that nobody really wants to talk about but has to be addressed. Angus Cloud, who played Fezco, passed away in July of 23. He was only 25 years old, his character was a fan favorite, the drug dealer with a heart of gold, basically, and his death hit the cast and the fans really hard. We don't know yet how the show is going to handle his absence. Will they write his character out? Will there be some kind of tribute? Fans are hoping for something respectful and meaningful, but we'll have to wait and see. The whole thing just adds another layer of emotion and weight to this season before it's even begun. Eric Dane, who plays Cal Jacobs, shows up in the latest trailer, which surprised some people because last we saw his character, he was being arrested. Euphoria is one of his final roles, which adds its own significance given his long career in television. Every choice in this season feels like it carries extra meaning because of all the real-world circumstances surrounding it. So where does all of this leave us? You've got a show that was genuinely groundbreaking when it started, that connected with a huge audience, that made Zendaya an even bigger star than she already was, and that seemed poised to be one of those defining television shows of its era. But it's been 3 years. The cultural moment it captured has shifted. The creator's reputation has taken hits, the cast has dealt with personal controversies and real tragedy, and the show itself is making a 5-year time jump that might fundamentally change what it is. Some people are going to watch on Sunday because they're genuinely excited. They've missed these characters, they want to see where the story goes, and they're willing to trust that the show can still be great even if it's different. Others are going to watch out of curiosity or even obligation, just to see how this all shakes out, whether it crashes and burns or somehow pulls off a miracle. The pressure on this season is enormous. Not just because of the long wait, but because of everything that's happened in that wait. The show needs to justify the time it took, address the concerns people have about its creator, honor the cast members who've passed or moved on, and somehow tell a story that still feels like Euphoria, while acknowledging that 3 years have passed in our world and 5 years in theirs. I think what's most interesting about this whole situation is how it reflects the way we consume television now. It's not just about the show anymore. It's about the discourse around the show, the social media reactions, the behind-the-scenes drama, the real-world controversies of the people involved. All of that becomes part of the experience, for better or worse. And in Euphoria's case, all of that noise has become almost as loud as the show itself. We'll find out Sunday night if Season 3 can break through all that noise and remind people why they cared about this show in the first place. Whether it does or not, it's going to be one of the most talked about television events in a while, and not entirely for the reasons HBO probably hoped. If you're planning to watch, I'd love to hear what you're most curious about going in. Are you optimistic? Skeptical? Just along for the ride? Leave a comment and let me know. And if you found this breakdown helpful, subscribe for more deep dives into what's happening in television and film.